Psalm chapter 10 is one of those chapters in the book of Psalms that has no kind of indication of the author. Now, there are several chapters that fall into that category. This one, you really can't even tell exactly at what point in the history of the Hebrews this really fits, because it fits so many. In fact, it fits generations that continue to exist around the world. It's really an 18-verse chapter that deals with the boasts of the tyrants and the prayers of the victims. And there's where it starts in verse 2. In arrogance the wicked persecute the poor. Let them be caught in the schemes they have devised. Between verse 2 and down through verse number 11, there are 11 points that are made about the boastfulness of those that are tyrannical in the way that they abuse other people. This is the first one. They persecute the powerless, and they don't care. Verse number 3, the wicked boast of the desires of the heart. Those greedy for gain curse and renounce the Lord, pursue selfish desires, not for the betterment of the culture around them, but for their own gain. They are driven by greed and a thirst for power. In verse 4, in the pride of their countenance, the wicked say, God will not seek it out. All their thoughts are, there is no God. They proudly believe they will never be caught because they view themselves as the ultimate authority. And since they control the power and control the masses, nobody's going to call them into account. Verse number 5, the first part of it and the last part of it says this: their ways prosper at all times. As for their foes, they scoff at them. The prosperity that they have brings ridicule upon those who criticize them. They prosper at all times. As for their foes, as for those who are critical to what they are doing, they scoff, they laugh, they ridicule them. In the middle of that, in verse 5, it's a statement about proper judgments, a reference to God. Your judgments are on high, out of their sight. The impact of that phrase in the middle of verse 5, their lack of intelligence, the tyrannical lack of intelligence of these people, places true judgment out of their reach. They can't even understand it, nor do they want to. They don't need to. They are the authority, and they have the power. They can be as inconsistent, as irrational, illogical as is possible, and nobody can stop them. And you see that all around us. Verse number 6, they think in their heart, we shall not be moved. Throughout all generations, we shall not meet adversity. They believe, they truly believe, they cannot lose their position or their power. It's something that they have worked all of their life perhaps to set in stone, and nobody is going to shake that foundation. Verse number 7, their mouths are filled with cursing and deceit and oppression. Under their tongues are mischief and iniquity. Does that fit anybody in our culture that you know? Verse number 8, they sit in ambush in the villages, in hiding places they murder the innocent. The impact of verse number 8 is, okay, they're doing things that are atrocious, but they don't want those things to be talked about or recognized. They want to keep them secret. And if we can do all of these things in secret that are ambushing villages and murdering the innocent, but we keep you from knowing that, then maybe we can trick you into thinking how benevolent we are, when that is as far from the truth as it can possibly be. Last part of verse number 8 and into verse number 9. Their eyes stealthily watch for the helpless. They lurk in secret like a lion. They lurk that they may seize the poor. They seize the poor and drag them off in their net. Justice, truth, fairness, even equality, that's not in their mindset. Power and power, oppression that they can keep kind of quiet. But these individuals that existed in this day when Psalm chapter 10 was written seem to rise up in every generation of humanity. And unfortunately, they are all around us in this 21st century. Verse number 10, they stoop, they crouch, and the helpless fall by their might. They control the helpless, but they make the helpless dependent upon them forever. They think in their heart, God has forgotten, he's hidden his face, he will never see it. It sounds very similar to verse 4. They think they will never, ever be caught, and their true motives will never be realized by a society that they have made numb around them to what is actually happening. So the prayer of the victim actually involves three parts. Verse number 13, a question. Why do the wicked renounce God and say in their hearts, you will not call us into account? Why do they act that way? You think, well, why would somebody ask that kind of question? The person asked this question is a person that lives with some kind of scruples in his makeup. He has some kind of recognition that there is something that's right and something that's wrong, and he sees that these people in authority, they have no concern for what's right or what's wrong. Verse number 14, the statement of those who are the victims is a statement about the fact that God does know what they face and how they feel. Verse 14, you do see. And did you note trouble and grief that you may take it into your hands? The helpless commit themselves to you, and you have been the helper of the orphan. So here's the request, this third part of the prayer of the victim. Verse 15. Break the arm of the wicked and evildoers is a statement that says break their strength. Stop it. In fact, take it further, the second part of verse 15. Seek out their wickedness until you find none. Eliminate it. Eliminate their power. Eliminate their evil, eliminate their inhumanity, and finally make it apparent for who and what they actually are. The boastfulness of the tyrant, the prayerfulness of the victim. Verse 17 and 18, Lord, you will hear the desire of the meek and strengthen their heart. You'll incline your ear to do justice for the orphan and the oppressed, so those from earth may strike terror no more. That will always be the prayer for the oppressed. But the aspects of the tyrants, they haven't changed from the time that that chapter was written to today. Look around in the world and notice how many different places across the globe this description of the tyrant fits. Maybe even closer to home than you would like to believe. Please stay safe. We'll talk again soon.